Hello, welcome back, Saints Nation. I am Patrick Smoke Chambers, joined by
Dan Banner, also known as Mr. Danners, and we have ourselves quite the exciting night. Academy Game Day. I should be wearing the red or getting this in red at some point.
Yeah, that would look pretty nice, wouldn't it?
It absolutely would. It's pretty cool to be seeing multiple weeks in a row where we're getting these Academy Game Days. But of course, lots of action on the docket. Why don't you go through and start us off with what we're going to expect for tonight?
First up, NACE R6. That's going to be our first matchup tonight. Going to be our Saints Academy going up against Butler University, and then we have some ECAC matches in Fortnite and TFT happening later around 8 p.m.
Absolutely, yeah, plenty of action. I mean, it's kind of nice that we're getting a little bit of a routine. We're kind of seeing the same games on the same day and not being rescheduled all over the place. So you get to actually know what to expect. And because of that, we've been able to promote a lot more of the teams that normally don't get the airtime. Like, say, Rainbow Six, for example. We only got them on stream maybe once or twice last semester. Now we're getting them basically every week. And I know they're loving that. I know the viewers have been loving that as well. R6 has always been doing fantastic, and going up against Butler, considering the records that we do see for both these teams, this one should go all the way.
Right, so I mean, both in 2-0 right now. I believe there's a third team on 2-0 as well, so this is kind
James
of...
Madison, yeah.
Yeah, so if they lose, or regardless if they win, the whole point is you're trying to stay in first, you're trying to take that throne, and right now, one of these two juggernauts who are battling for first place are going to be dethroned as of today.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very entertaining.
Absolutely. And from talking, it sounds like from talking to a couple of the players like a little bit beforehand, it definitely seems like they're going to be in contention, especially if they keep this up, in contention for like a really, really deep playoff run, maybe even push for a grand final or something if it keeps up. In fact, let's take a quick look here of what our actual standings across the league here are. We can see in the Eastern Conference. We mentioned James Madison earlier. They are the ones alongside us here in this 2-0 tiebreaker. There's James Madison, there's Butler, there's us, shortly followed by Fisher and Ferris State, and a couple more teams having a little bit of a harder time at the very, very end there. But we can see just that top five even. I don't want to count Ferris State out either. Just some absolute some killers in here.
Right, I mean, for sure. And I think, like I said before, I was talking to a couple of the Saints players earlier. I wanted to get kind of a gauge of how they think this matchup should go. They do, to my knowledge, play against Butler a lot. I believe they've scrimmed them in the past before. And usually when looking at the lineups here, as you can see, the ranks acquired with these as well. Now, rank isn't necessarily something to get scared of, especially in the rank 2.0 system. It makes ranks a lot more easier to obtain. So nothing to really be scared of there. When I was talking to the boys, they said that usually when they scrim Butler, if I'm not mixing up the words here, it either goes very close or they completely stomp them. So it's going to be one of the two. I would like to see this be very close. I want to see it go to map 3. I think that's what we're going to get tonight. And man, I just can't wait to cast it.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look at that roster, of course, let's see. We have the 5 players here. We've got John Z, Mad Dog, Loch Ness, Ethan, and Gravy there, all for Butler, coached by Pepto-Abysmal. Like that tag, to be honest. And, of course, our Saints home squad. We got Rapid, Salty Boy, Charm, Corey, Rob, and Jonks. And, of course, coach there alongside with Siri. And I know Rapid has been kind of like the day-to-day coach for that squad as well. But should be a strong matchup. I mean, from the outside looking in, I know there's always, especially for something like Siege, where your in-game like solo queue rank does not necessarily equate to your competitive ability. But even if I were just to strictly look at those rankings, like, it looks pretty well dead even, to say the least. So should be, like you're saying, a close one. And I'm, of course, we're here on the Saints channel. I want to see our Saints do well, but of course, like I keep saying over and over, the showman in me wants to see a game 3, wants to see it go all the way. I want to see an absolute banger of a matchup, which this one is kind of setting itself up to be.
Right, I mean, you just got to hope that everything falls in place and we get that game 3. But I want to talk a little bit about what happened last week. Obviously, you know, our Saints were coming off of a 2-0 against Drexel Clubhouse games, going, I believe, 7-5 and then 7-2 on Skyscraper as well. Saints, from what I can tell, have a pretty decent understanding. They have a pretty decent understanding of Clubhouse and Sky. I think those are two maps that are really in their pocket, and they like to play them. I think for sure Oregon's another one that I think they like as well. But in terms of map variety, we haven't seen too much. I've seen a couple repeats of Clubhouse. So I think Club's definitely kind of a secure map for them. But I wonder, you know, what's going to happen? Does Butler have that same sort of mentality of maps coming in? Or are they going to switch it up, throw something new that they haven't seen at them? It just depends on how the map bans go. And it's going to be interesting to see, for sure.
Absolutely. And I know, like, at least from watching R6 from our past teams, like, we complain about Valorant having the same maps. I swear, every time we had R6 way back in the day, if I never have to see Cafe for the rest of my life, I am completely okay with that, because it was literally Cafe, Coastline, Clubhouse. Cafe, Coastline, Clubhouse. Oh, one of them got banned, Oregon. That was basically how it went for the longest time, but it is cool to see this new roster come through and have a little bit of a mix-up there. Like, when I saw Skyscraper, it was last week, I believe you were saying, I thought we were going to be in a world of hurt, and that ended up being a rather dominating map for us. So it's like, okay, it's good to see some variety, like you said.
Right, and I mean, the reason why you would be seeing a lot of maps like Coastline and Cafe as well, a lot of pro and competitive players love those maps because of how open they are. It allows for aggressive play, it allows for swings, it allows for just non-bunker defenses. Again, back in the day, a very North American play style for attack and defense was always very utility heavy, slow, methodical, but now we're seeing this new age of players, especially with a lot of influence from the Brazilian region. Of course, some of the top teams for UR6 Insiders know, like, of course, we're listing off W7M, Liquid, we're seeing them in the 6th Invitational right now. W7M, of course, being one of the best teams in the world, 2 majors back-to-back. They've just won, and they're going for the SI right now. So a lot of these Brazilian teams kind of paved the way for more of an aggressive swing-or-be-swung sort of play. Obviously, you know, there is tactic involved in it, no doubt. But their gun skill is just off the Richter scale, right? It's just completely just something above what we've ever seen before. So they love playing these open maps like Coastline. They love maps like Cafe that tend to kind of be a lot more aggressive. And that would be, I think, the explanation behind why you see so many of the same maps. It's just because that's kind of what pros like.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And especially thinking back to some of the old players on the rosters, okay, I think you're pretty much right on the nail in terms of kind of benefiting a more aggressive play style. Because there was a lot of times where we would get 10, 20 seconds in and somebody's jumping out a window on defense. Like, it just happened over and over again. But taking a look at some of the other matchups that we do have happening today, of course, R6 will be starting in just a couple of moments as we are getting into the lobby slowly but surely. But we do have, of course, the ECAC side of things that is going to be starting around 8 o'clock. We have both Teamfight Tactics and Fortnite. Starting off with Fortnite is something I want to quickly talk about, because as of right now, with this format right now, or this format this time by, it is duos and it does have building enabled. I know there is a no build trios mode, but that isn't what we're going to be seeing here today. And these are your front runners here for it. You'll see 2 Saints teams on this list at some point here. And I don't know if it's just the build mode or what, but the Saints do seem to be having a little bit of a harder time compared to the no build, where they're getting caught out kind of early and have just unfortunately not necessarily found the kills.
Yeah, there you go. You see them at 36.
Yep, there they are. Yeah, sitting there with 8 points, so just not getting too many eliminations and finding themselves kind of caught off guard. There was a funny clip of Fortnite's kind of turning into Grand Theft Auto from last week, but you might get the clip, but that doesn't get you the points. And Tayo and Unknown is going to be the team that we will end up having on stream alongside us.
Yes.
They're the ones up there, and I think there's the 36 section you said. But hopefully this is their week.
So, I mean, yeah, last week, you know, the first week that they went in, it was actually pretty good. I mean, I believe they placed 3rd in a match and then 7th in another. But then this week rolled around, and I mean, I think they had a placement somewhere around like the late 20s and then somewhere around the 30s. Like, it was not necessarily it wasn't a good showing. and it's just something that we're not used to seeing. Because, you know, when we first started casting these guys as well, you know, we saw Tayo and Unknown with the third as well. They were doing really, really good, especially in that no build. They were just absolutely always grabbing that either second place, third place. I can't remember if they ever bagged a first. I don't think so.
They came close a few times.
Yeah, they were always just kind of in that top 3, top 5 discussion. And now that it's really kind of fallen off with the builds, I want to see how they adapt, and I want to see how they basically can look at these last 2 weeks, take what they learned, and apply it to what they're going to do right now.
Yeah, and especially just finding early, because sometimes it's just unlucky. You happen to dive in, and you got some neighbors right next to you trying to fight for the same loot, and you just unfortunately don't win that fight. And just adding on that building portion to it, I know we kind of joke around about it that, oh, I just landed here, I found somebody, and now the Eiffel Tower's in front of me. Like, huh? Like, how'd this happen? Because some of these people are just so dang fast at it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not saying that our squad isn't, but it's definitely another layer of gameplay that you have to kind of worry about. And unfortunately for our Saints, as of thus far, it's been a little bit tough, but we'll see. Maybe this is their week, like I was saying before.
I mean, I want to then quickly just wrap it up by touching on some TFT as well. You know, especially from the POVs of Tommy, we've been following it very closely. Some brilliant showings last week, especially. I believe it was a first-place finish on the second game. And on the first game, I can't remember if he placed second or third, but it was one of the two. I don't quite remember, but I do know he was top 3 for, I believe, both games there.
Absolutely, and we're seeing actually right on the results exactly some of those results really paying off there for Nakataiken sitting
Pitsy
there
as well, right? Like, we have to acknowledge him in first. We don't have his POV that we stream off of, but we do know that he is an absolute demon on TFT. So no surprise there to see him taking that first spot.
Yeah, and Prince and Kira not doing too bad for themselves either. Kira going to be in the 20th position, Prince in 25th. So it's kind of all hovering around the midsection. I know Kira and Prince specifically had a little bit of a rough week 1, but week 2, they were able to score some decent points to get themselves up the board a little bit. But of course, like you were saying, we're going to be following alongside Tommy or Nakataiken this time by. But you never know. We could actually find ourselves in a lobby with some of our other Saints players, which you hate to see a team kill, but we'll have to see because Pitsy's also going off, which is going to be interesting.
Right. I mean, look, regardless, like you said, hate to see a team kill, but at the end of the day, you are there knowing, hey, you know what? One of the Saints players are going up. The other one is just taking that spot and at least holding it. So, you know, if it gets to those kind of matches anyway where you got one guy at third and the other guy in fourth has to take down the guy in third and then eventually, like, gets first, I mean, I think as a school we're all pretty content with that, knowing that, hey, we got 2 in the top 5 and one of them we're probably able to bring it back. Yeah,
and it's just the way that it ends up happening with some of these esports titles. There's very few of them I think we have now where it's like, yes, you have a team, but it is still like truly an individual. I mean, we kind of see that with like Smash and FGC, but even Smash has crew battles. I think FGC does as well. And then like iRacing, for example, or you have TFT here where, yeah, everybody's still a team, but at the end of the day, you do also have to compete against your own teammates. And it's just another factor that you have to kind of get used to. And like you're saying, kind of just understanding that it is going to happen, but hey, hold it, take the torch, buddy, and run with it as far as you can, kind of ordeal.
Well, again, like, I think we're getting into the Siege lobby pretty relatively soon. One person, just to quickly wrap it up as well, that I want to talk about from last week. Like I said, I do want to touch on Corey Rob, which I believe I touched on his KDs, but not the role that he's doing. So it's kind of a little bit weird right now. The Saints kind of running a little bit of a, if this makes any sense to you, defensive support flex, but they're not doing anything really big on entry there. So it's just kind of a little bit more of a casual fallback sort of lineup, but it's working brilliantly. I mean, that's what we're usually seeing right now. The Saints defensively have just an amazing record, and I can see it right now that they are doing a lot better on the defense, and I think that what they're also doing a great job of, and this is where people like Corey Rob, people like Salty Boy come in, is that they're definitely getting their trades a lot better right now. R6 is a game where you do not want to have a kill go the other way and you not being able to trade it back. You don't want anyone to kind of have that one-man advantage. And in the first week, the Saints were definitely struggling a little more with that. But in week 2, they completely shifted it around, and you could just see they were covering each other so well.
Especially
the
game
comms
2.
were going so fluently. Game 2 wasn't even like a match. That was just an absolute stomping. So it's going to be interesting to see what they bring out.
Yeah, absolutely. Then just for layman's terms for someone, because I kind of get what you're getting at in regards to defensive with the flex set of supports, but like how does that look in a team composition wise? So on the or for the offensive side, does that mean you're not like running an Ash kind of scenario?
Right.
Or...
So basically, when I'm talking about the defense, Ash is on attack. But when I'm talking about the defense, when I'm talking about hard support characters, we're talking about people who electrify walls, like Cade, people who hold down positions
strictly
like
defense.
Mira,
Okay,
right? Like strictly defensive, right? And then you have those kind of soft support flex operators coming in, kind of like the Mute on Corey Rob or the Castle with Rapid, who is then also a very aggressive player in, on the other side of things. So it's kind of weird how they run their defense a little bit. There's no clear like Solus that they bring out, or I mean, sometimes Rapid runs the Legion, but anyway, he still plays safe regardless. So it's just a little bit of a different style of defensive play.
Okay.
But it's turning into results and it's working.
Okay, I thought you were referring to like offensively they're even playing kind of on a defensive note. But
No. That's the opposite. Rapid's on Buck and he's literally like, okay, yeah, that's a softball, that's gone, that's a head, I'm tapping that. That's exactly what their offensive style is like. It's basically just let's get Rapid in there, let's get the entry, and then we can just kind of clean up everywhere else. It's two different sides of a coin for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Heck, even a few times last week we would see Rapid on the Legion go for like quick runouts even, which is a very, very high risk maneuver considering you want to kind of keep that Legion alive as long as possible. But with that, of course, we are still in the process of getting this lobby all fixed up and good to go for Rainbow Six Siege. So we are going to throw this to a very, very quick break to get that all situated. But hopefully within 5 minutes time, we will see you on map 1. All right, Saints Nation, thank you for your patience. We are about to get into the game here for game number 1 of our Rainbow Six Siege match for NACE Star League Varsity Premier, and it's going to be Clubhouse starting us off here.
No surprise.
So, as I was saying that, we see Clubhouse all the time as a part of that list earlier. Sure enough, going to start things off once again here.
So the ban going in on Hibana and Maverick. Clubhouse, you know, obviously a strong Maverick map to get the CC wall and con wall, and Clubhouse is also a map of hatches, so no surprise there seeing the Hibana ban coming out. If I were St. Clair right now, banning on the defense, despite Butler being there first, I would likely see a Fenrir or an Azami ban. That's going to be exactly what comes out there. And the reason for it is because Azami, Clubhouse is just such a map where there are all these little ledges and nooks and crannies where you can start throwing those Kiba barricades. And as I said right there, there's the Fenrir ban coming out as well. Everybody knows those gadgets, those Fenrir gadgets, the smoke, it's just so overpowered. And yeah, no surprise from the bans coming out there, especially the Azami, just such good control that she can hold on top rafters of Garage as well. So, as we see the lineups coming in, Dan, what are you thinking of them?
First off, oh my gosh, kittens. Like, we have all the...
Yes, that is Sandbox Gaming's background.
That is absolutely amazing. It completely threw me off guard. I'm supposed to be analyzing a team lineup. I'm looking at skins, but don't mind me. Looking at this Saints side of things to start this off, I mean, this is pretty well tried and true Clubhouse, with the exception of one of these operators up the very top there that I cannot remember for the life of me. The one who holds the shield, though.
Yes, Osa. That would be Osa for sure. And
that's gonna
no
be
surprise that we see the lineup coming in. However, I will say what I was going to say was surprised about is seeing Corey Rob on that Ash/Jackal. Usually we see him on a little more of a softer support. You would expect to see Salty Boy on the Ash, at least for week 1. That's definitely what it looked like. But we see Rapid on Buck, so I'll tell you how this is going to go. We're going to try to pave our way in as quickly as possible, get that intel going, get Rapid a quick kill, try to get the entry on the board, and then they're going to carve out the rest. Now, in terms of operators on the defensive side they have to watch out for, they got burned by a Tubarão last time they played on Clubhouse, obviously. I remember giving that comms down on Church Arsenal. This isn't Church Arsenal, but there goes Rapid, just immediately breaching the con wall, and look who's there, the Mute, ready to greet him if he so does please to go through there. He's not going to, though. He's going to make sure that he gets the breach into dirt as well, just to kind of allow the offense just multiple avenues of pushes. Now, if it's any defender that they need to be worried about, it's going to be the Legion and the Solus, and I'll explain why, ladies and gentlemen. That Legion, as the time goes up, he just gets more and more goo mines, so he's going to be useful that way. And the Solus, of course, being able to scan for that planter, she's going to be the one who they want to take out early as well. She will punish you in the late round.
Absolutely, and we do see Saints slowly but surely make their way through, and that's going to be Mad Dog taking a little bit of heat on Solus, but still keeping themselves alive for the time being. But
Shock Snow.
Yeah, kind of we see the outline, and the shots are not going to go into their favor, and that's going to be Mad Dog able to get the better of that one, getting the first elimination here in this game.
Right, and on the Grim too, a good operator right now. Used to be a pretty bad operator for a lot of people, but then they kind of added some micro buffs to him and just kind of made him an overall better character, especially with that Commando 9. It's one of the best guns in the game right now with the G3 taking that recent nerf. And as the player crosses the eyes of the Legion, he's going to be one to pick him off. The refrag not quite coming in. And now St. Clair in a very hard position with the, I believe, was that Mute or was that the Solus coming through? Regardless, they're finding bodies on the side of Butler, and they're going to be able to clean it up. I believe it was the Mute. Yes, it was. Just quickly flanking in, going into bar from Blue, walking up, and it was just an amazing hold by Butler, a really solid roam as well.
Man, these eliminations that this Butler were able to pull off was just so awkward because the Saints were oftentimes just like running past the doorway, like not necessarily expecting that shots would be coming through. Nobody was in position for any sort of refrag or was expecting any sort of engagement.
Right.
So especially early, those were 2 picks. We were kind of talking during the pre-show that we're kind of scared of seeing these picks happen just uncontested, no one-for-ones, no trades, and that's exactly what happened. And Saints just fell way too far behind to get themselves back into that round. So it's back to the drawing board here, as it looks like we're going up to the second floor this time by.
And I'm mistaken. I thought that the mute came from blue, but you got to remember in that first engagement, Rapid takes off the construction wall, and the mute is literally waiting right there, but he doesn't notice it. They don't drone it, so the mutes will get allowed to get by scot-free. And as they prep for this gym bedroom defense, as they get the jacuzzi wall and mirror setup and logistics all started, those Jaeger ADSs are going to be pivotal in making sure that no nades go by. I believe the mirror hasn't put down the window just yet on logistics wall, but I would assume that it's going to be a bathroom mirror and then a logistics mirror. That's kind of the typical setup. And if you're St. Clair right now, you need to get that logistics hatch open, and you need to breach that jacuzzi wall quick.
Absolutely. And we're going to have to do this extremely quickly, and of course we're going to have to get a little bit close range here as they do pick the thermite up for this one instead of any sort of ranged attacker. But we're going to see, I think, a decent positioning there for an extra little peek hole there for John Z. And just continuing to use as much utility as possible before the Saints do get in on here. Because, of course, so much denial possible between the mute and the Jaeger, as we do see the Big G there almost maybe getting the jump, but no, just going to opt to smack the shield instead. I do hear the thermite charge coming on through. Does it go through? Not 100% sure. I did not hear the explosion, so I'm curious if Mew got it.
And no, that is the new operator Tubrow. What he does is he throws his Zoto canister, and it has a freezing effect. It freezes any electronics in sight. Now, they did add a recent nerf where that Zoto canister will not allow any electronics to activate after 1.5 seconds after the freezing effect. So this thermite charge will go off. However, does the yep, there it is.
Yep.
It went off. The Tubrow can delay the time that it needs to, so that's why you want to do it quick, is because with that Tubrow, if you try to hit that wall late and the Tubrow still has Zotos to throw, he can just delay those seconds, delay that time that wall has to go open, and you might find yourself staring down the barrel of a 10-second panic push.
Okay, that would definitely make things awkward, absolutely. Now we do see Nitro Cell coming on through, and it's going to be effective, taking care of Salty Boy. One more on top of it as well. Johnsy there from the side of Butler is on an absolute tear. Gets some decent damage as well onto one more. Rapid down but not out. So it is going to be all down to Jonks and Corey Rob to try and get this 2-on-5, which is going to be absolutely brutal. And Rapid is going to get finished off, but we are going to get one more trade here as Corey Rob is able to find one. Maybe to get things started. Jonks does have the diffuser in hand, so they could still make a Hail Mary.
Right, I mean, a really good job there by Johnsy, realizing that the Osa shield freshly placed. The Osa isn't going to be moved too much farther back by that window. Kind of a little bit of foreshadowing, even letting the mute step up right to it and knife the earlier one. Thinking that Salty Boy not aware of the Nitro Cell possibility, and probably thinking that, hey, if this guy walks out to peek me, I have a guy on my breach that's holding my cross. So using a really good job there of the head holes, arcing that Nitro over, finding the pick onto the cross as well. And as they pressure this logistics Mira, this is definitely going to be a messy round that St. Clair has to try to claw their way back out of.
Absolutely, too. I'm trying to go through, but of course their positions are absolutely known. It is down to Corey Rob, who's on a sliver of HP. No diffuser in hand. This one can just time out, and it will go to Butler.
If he's smart, he won't peek it, because, yeah, you're going to get shut down immediately.
Yeah, no matter what.
They got the cross angles. They got the time. There's no reason. It's just, this round was done, dusted, over. The second that double kill came down and Rapid was even down in Garage, I could have called it right there. It was pretty much looking like that was it. They didn't have very much utility left, and was it Gravy in all chat? They didn't have very much utility left. It just wasn't looking very good. And so far, yes, while Clubhouse is a defensive-sided map, it is going to be St. Clair that needs to try to pick up a couple rounds here or there. They need to try to get themselves back into this game. They don't want Butler to start running away with it.
Absolutely. Of course, any sort of damage that they can pull off here will definitely help come halftime, but back up to the second floor here, it looks like this time by CCTV instead, of course, because you cannot go back to the site that you won on within 3 rounds, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, yeah, every 3 rounds.
Kind of have to take the tour of the clubhouse here if you go on a wing spree on the defensive side of things. And upon the Saints scouting this out, we are going to be seeing some changes as it's possible Capital lock in here for Salty Boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what I was going to point out is the change onto the Ying. Of course, Ying's such a strong operator. I would honestly put her, especially on maps like Bank, as one of the best attackers in the entire game. 81 round LMG with no recoil and not a lot of reload time. It's
just
literally
laser
just clip fed. Yeah, and it's a laser beam. 2 hard breaching charges just for that. You got the 2 drones for intel, and the utility is amazing. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, 4 Ying Candelas, of course, those cluster flashbangs. I mean, they're absolutely insane for clearing space, finding picks, rushing on to execute, seeing the hard breaching charge go down on the Capitao, and he's looking to most likely use those firebolts to clear out top rafters on Garage.
Absolutely turn those bomb sites into a disco floor. As we do see a very, very solid shot there coming out
too.
There from Gravy, just getting the sneaky little run out. Takes care of Corey Robson. One of the SOP breachers coming and going here for the sign of the Saints, and once again, with the Ying going down, Rapid falling, it just feels like the push is being stopped before it even really has an opportunity to get started. Really having to play off the back foot here with just 3 members.
Right, I mean, you've lost your Ashe, which isn't the end of the world, but losing that Ying is the make or break for your push. Now, they do technically have everything they still need to do a site take. They have that Thermite who's already gotten the wall open. They have that Thatcher. They have that Tappy Tao that can use those smoke bolts to kind of act as an entry. But the problem is, obviously, when you're 2 bodies down and 2 guns down, it's so much harder to get back into the swing of things. That's going to be a nice pick, though, that Salty Boy finds, hopefully untraded back, as it seems that he's not looking to swing on to anything just yet. Kind of playing the position right there. Decent start for the Saints, but you got to have a lot of stuff to find, and with the peak coming out from Garage, they have to be very careful that they don't get found shot by Gravy.
Absolutely, trying to salvage what they can, but as you saw, the Gravy there on the Warden is just sitting, lying and waiting for the opportunity to maybe make a move, but actually it's going to be the Saints making their move there with the Thermite charge, try and get themselves into this room, get past the bandits, and get onto this bomb site to get ready for a plant. Jock's going to be playing a little bit of Spider-Man here, and actually does have somebody right on the other side of that window. Very, very scary positioning, to say the least, but with 50 seconds left to go, Gravy takes a little bit of heat, but does not end up going down. The Saints getting inside, but it's still extremely tough as he does go down.
Right, and I mean, with that pick, I think this is going to pretty much wrap it up, barring a miracle. You got 36 seconds, but the cross angles are being held. Pre-fires are going to come through. That's exactly what's going to happen. Loch Ness doing a really good job of locking that down, and as the vault comes through as well, because of that cache wall opening, it provides just that viewpoint to allow for the cross angle. It's going to be an easy pickup for Loch Ness and an easy round so far for Butler, jumping out to a 3-0 start quick.
Yeah, Loch Ness sealing that round up with a 3K for themselves. So a fantastic start here across the board for Butler, but a timeout will be coming in here for St. Clair, because honestly, good timing to kind of get your opportunity to regroup. Very similar to what you were saying earlier. Yeah, sure, defensive side and map, but you want to be able to at least make a little bit of damage while you're on this attacking side. And the way it is right now, it just seems like Butler is kind of running away with it a little bit.
Chat is crazy. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's just 9. Okay, I thought he was just putting in 3 Gs. I was like, that's wild. But right now, honestly, with the way it's been looking, every right to do so. They're not only 3-0 up, but 3-0 in dominant fashion. St. Clair's only got 3 picks on the board. And I mean, right now, Butler is just not only out-fragging them, but outclassing them in pretty much any which way you could imagine. None of these rounds have been close. They haven't been able to take apart the roam on the side of St. Clair. Again, with Gravy just recently hitting that run out as well. They're finding free picks on these Saints who are just kind of simply don't have their heads up and their guns up either. They just kind of, they look a little bit lost.
And taking a look at what we're maybe trying to do here for this side of St. Clair, this, at least for a moment, it kind of looked like they were screaming like a rush kind of style. They had a Maru out initially there. Dokebi was being thought about, still being thought about there for Salty Boy, which says to me that they just want to absolutely send it. But on the contrary here, just again, the lockdown, even like late round style here from Butler is going to make things extremely difficult. And We'll have to see what Saints end up doing, because I don't even think they've got an opportunity to even plant a diffuser so far in this game. So looking to get themselves on the board here.
Yeah, and I mean, that roam game's just been so solid, so that's exactly what they're going to do. I expect a little more of a slow and methodical push coming through, because they are bringing the Jackal and the Dokebi to deal with that roam.
That would make sense.
They need to try to get rid of the Solus, who's lurking on the top floor right now, and what that Solus is going to do is, when she's playing in gym, it's just to quickly see if she can get any damage. But I guarantee you right now, if they don't get Logistics Hatch open, that Solus will be able to have that space for free, and whenever they try to breach into that kitchen hatch, the Solus can just scan and shoot out any hard breaching charges. Not again. Please not again. It's going to be Rapid to be found. I thought it was going to be on the run out, but the second pick does come through anyway. And now Corey Robb finding himself in between a rock and a hard place. He is going to be able to get out, but as that Solus blows open the garage wall, they're going to have other problems. The Goyo working in tandem as well on the roam. Again, they just haven't been able to deal with this roam. Charm going down as well. This is an absolute roll so far from Butler. You just have to applaud it and give it to them. Johnsy is doing so good on this roam top floor, and this Solus is doing everything perfectly on the lurk as well. They haven't been able to find the picks they need. They have St. Clair completely demolished in this next round as well.
Yeah, if everybody viewing is getting discombobulated, I would imagine how the players feel in this scenario, because it just feels like they're getting swarmed. Salty Boy is going to answer back with 1, but still a 1-on-4 position known. And you see from below, from the right, I don't care how good you are, you can't cover everything.
Good try.
And that is going to be Butler taking the 4th one here for themselves, just decisively.
Right, and I mean, just as you said, right, like the wall bangs are coming out, everyone knows where the comm is, it just takes a little bit of a minute, but they are going to get the cross, and the second they do, it's done, dusted, that round is over. 4-0 so far for Butler, to what I honestly think has been the best clubhouse defense I've seen in a while, especially for the collegiate level. I mean, even watching some, pro matches, of course, obviously this is a pro league, but what I will say is, what Butler are doing is so good. They have this lurk in the Solus and the Goyo. I mean, the way Johnsy was able to hold that power position in cash, it's not very often you see that happen. Usually in lobbies of this talent, you would expect, okay, he gets the 1 free pick, and then what do roamers usually do? They then pull back. You kind of just take a little bit of ground and then retreat.
Right.
You think Johnsy would just kind of give up that position. He has the pick. He can go back down. The roamers can play in turtle and have that sort of 4v5 advantage they can then play for trades. Johnsy electing to stay up there, which is usually a very risky play, but it works out for him, and he ends up bagging, I believe, 2 more kills in that round as well.
Yeah, playing extremely confidently rather than just trying to be like the mental manipulator with the threat of possibly roaming. It's like, no, he is actually the threat in your face. Not afraid to hold their ground, even if it does mean trying to constantly win 1v1s. But to be fair, he's been winning those 1v1s so far here in this series. And Saints, of course, still looking for that first point on the board. But where in the world is everyone going to end up going here? Gravy could very well find maybe some sort of floor shot if they do end up moving on forward, but just going to opt to, okay, that's quite a little angle there.
Yeah, so Gravy's just looking to kind of make that breach onto strip and just have any sort of idea of where these players are going from. They now have the confirmation Jacuzzi wall has been taken, and I believe now, yep, that's exactly what they need to look for. They didn't hear the shotgun going through. That thermite charge was making all the noise. They didn't know what was going on. And now that the Saints are aware of a player down in strip, they have a lot of work to do before they even get this roam cleared out again.
And these cheeky angles there, just stopping this before it even really gets started. But a good little play there for Salty Boy and the rest of the Saints to put the pressure on with the nade and get the frag essentially right after. But now Mad Dog is going to end up finding 1. Rapid does fall once again here. The Ying did get the 1 Candela charge off, but that was about it. But now a little bit of a 1-for-1 trade here. Charm does find 1, but does go down himself. So now it's going to be able to Salty Boy and Corey Robb to try and clutch this one out. You can see even picking up the gridlock this time. They are completely aware of this roaming style, but it still is just not being dealt with. Once again, going to be just all up to Salty Boy, who is going to net 1 more. Double kill for him here in this round. Has a rough idea where 1 more is, but still, without the diffuser in hand, this is going to be a tough one to try and pull off.
And I mean, right now, if you are Butler, there's no reason to give away your position. Salty Boy entering site doesn't even have diffuser. You just have to play it smart, not give away any dumb picks. With the position known, it will be kind of a gunfight back and forth between the mirror, but Salty Boy isn't even aware of the second player who's tucked himself into logistics now, playing around that rotate. Shooting the mirror is a smart decision. Oh, a huge flick going through, but he can't find the last pick as that player does rotate from bathroom into red door. It's just, oh, it's so close. It is so close. It seemed like Salty Boy had it almost there with that flick onto logistics rotate. That was such a good shot, but he just didn't realize the rotation from the Mira, and it's going to spell the end for him and the end for St. Clair on that round. 5-0 to Butler, and again, what was this time a closer yet dominant half. Close round, dominant half.
Absolutely, and just see if the Saints could do something to stop the bleeding here, but honestly, good on Salty Boy to find that flick. That was absolutely ridiculous to even bring that round close. But as you can see with everybody else, for the most part, everyone else is just kind of getting skunked. Like I was saying a little bit beforehand, just these pushes are getting stopped before they even oftentimes make it into the building. And they put themselves in some really, really awkward positions. But now over to the CCTV bomb site. I feel like this is the one site that everybody, even the casuals, kind of have a rough idea of knowing how to attack into. But we'll have to see this time by. Rapid, I know not personally, but taking a look at the score as of right now, has been having a little bit of a hard time here. Been dying pretty early, but we're going to need that buck. Let's see what he can do this time by.
Right, I mean, it is a site, like you were stating, CCTV, that a lot of people, even casuals, know how to attack. And it's for that reason why Butler and most teams choose to usually defend it last. A lot of people do like the comfort that CCTV gives, but a lot of people also don't remember this site is actually pretty half and half. So
yeah,
going gym bedroom, going church arsenal as of recently has been the move in the meta. And we've seen CCTV, what used to be a top bomb site, really fall down the ladder here, and that is why it is going to be Butler's last choice. St. Clair absolutely needs this round. This is not a conversation of whether this is going to be a game and a half here, if they're going to come back. If they are going to come back at all, they need to take this round right now. You cannot afford to be down 6-0, because if you allow any mistake and don't go absolutely picture perfect, it's going to spell the end for you. That is a beautiful first pick as well on Johnsy. They absolutely needed that on the tube route, so this wall will not be delayed on time of breach. And now St. Clair can finally sort of step on the pedal and get moving.
Absolutely, they've been able to do what they've wanted to in regards to breaching this one, and then getting that first initial pick was perfect. Rapid, there we go, he's on the board. Is able to find one more of Big Chi going down. So up to the Warden, the Cade, and the Bandit to finish the job here for Butler to try and get the perfect half. But this is exactly like you said, the Saints need this round. You don't want to force yourself to have to be playing a perfect defense right off the first round. So as the Saints start moving on in towards that site, should be seeing that diffuser planted anytime.
Now they just got to watch out, obviously, because they do have the high holes and they do have the Cade roaming below. Both of those operators having a nitro cell in pocket right now. So if you plant anything default, that comm's getting made and you're going to be blown sky high as the Capital bolts come in, though. The Warden as well will be able to see through that smoke if he times it right, but the rotation is not going to work out for Loch-Ness and Cash. As the pick comes through, Gravy's going to find one onto Rapid, but the diffuser is officially planted. And with no nitro cell in the back pocket of the Cade, it's going to be a scrappy retake on the side of Butler.
And there's one more. Salty Boy got to secure the double. It's all down to Gravy to try and make this one happen. Been doing pretty solid for themselves, to be fair, and they are going to be able to get themselves a double, but with 20 seconds left to go to try and deal with 3 Saints who are in those post-plant positions. It's going to be extremely tough to try and do. Manages to find one more. It's not quite done just yet, but I think he's running out of time. And Corey Robb going to seal the deal.
And I mean, regardless, I don't think they were aware of the, I believe the last Saints player who was also on Repel. I can't confirm whether or not that was the case, but if it is a post plant, you usually want to see your Thermite, the guy who plants the bomb, just kind of holding that far angle with that 5.56. He usually has that scope and the gun to do so. That gun excelling at mid to long range gunfights. So it was a very scrappy retake, but a good effort and a good try there by, I believe it was Gravy on Butler. So a very impressive first defensive half on the side of Butler. However, with Clubhouse being a very defensive-sided map, this might be a tale of simply two teams who don't know how to attack their own defense, their defenses. So it is very possible that St. Clair can find the same result. The only problem is you have way less space to screw up because you are staring down the barrel of simply, we need 6 rounds if we even want to win in regulation, so we have to have a perfect half for 1. And for 2, you can only mess up on 2 of those rounds, let alone 1 if you even wanted to go to overtime. So very, very, very perfect half here that needs to be played out by St. Clair if they want any hope of getting back into this game.
Absolutely. Going to be intense for all the Saints fans here to try and see if our Academy squad can bring this one back. Definitely a massive uphill climb for them to do here. I'm kind of enjoying the defensive lineup they have, though. I always love seeing a Frost, even though it's kind of hit or miss. But see what can end up happening through here as Butler makes their way through.
So what I will say is, I just saw the Bandit and Corey Rob doing something that I've seen them do on Clubhouse. And if Butler is aware of this, if they have watched the VODs, if they do any film study, they will know exactly what's going on here. There's a castle barricade right now that has been placed on gym door. And what Corey Rob has done is he's punched it 7 or 8 times. It takes 9 punches to break a castle barricade. So this is good because, for one, it's very deep in sight. So oh my gosh, what a pick. That is not good if you are St. Clair. You cannot afford to lose that pick early. And as the drop comes through, I don't believe Charm is aware of this. However, it will not matter as Jox is going to be able to clean up. If we can catch a break, what I was trying to say is the pick should come in here. Shots being found out by Charm. Perfect. Get out of logistics, my friend. You do not want that drop coming in on you. Corey Rob has prepped this castle barricade for an easy access into gym. Usually it would take 9 hits. For Corey Rob and the crew, it's only going to take 2 or 1. So this is a very good play because most offenses are going to be looking at the setup and thinking there's a lot of room that needs to be found on this castle barricade. They need to hit it a lot of times. As the pick comes in, Butler advances. But it's very quick play to be found by St. Clair, and if they can break that castle barricade early, lob a Nitro over, it's a free plant denial. Right now, Butler not looking to go in that direction, though. They are trying to swing a lot. They did have the man advantage, but now that is going to be no longer.
Yeah, this is actually such a scrappy round here, back and forth between the 2. Diffuser not in the hands of any of the members of Butler. However, it's all up to Jox. Finds the one-on-one now. Looks for one more. Mad Dog. Both these players are basically blinking with HP. Next to nothing in the tank for either of them. Still a minute on the clock too, so such a scary spot here for Jox. When do you make the move? Do you just sit and wait? And that little beep there from the device is going to just kind of give away the position and force Mad Dog outside to maybe try and think of another option with 30 seconds left to go.
And I believe what Mad Dog's going to look is, yep, exactly. Drop that logistics hatch. You then have the Logi rotate that you can play around, but Jox has already been made aware of this. As they swing the angle, though, Mad Dog hits a beautiful shot. Probably has the comm that the player is proning, but I don't believe it was. It was actually just a really good flick. The initial aim placement told me that he didn't actually know where Jox was, and it was just a beautiful flick that is going to bag Butler around. And now, staring down the barrel of a 6-1 St. Clair, you really have to try to find your footing here.
And can I just give a shout out to just these players in general, because I'm sitting here, I have the screen in front of me, I have a closer, more detailed screen in front of me with the game. I still can't see the players in these corridors or in these little holes that the players are trying to shoot through. Finding these picks, oh my goodness, I am jealous of that eyesight. But this is, again, tough spot here for St. Clair with the game points now on the line. With as of this moment, this KD there, I think that was Jonesy still 12-3, looking absolutely fantastic here in this first game. I'm curious as to what the rest of the maps are going to be, because we do know that the Clubhouse is one of the regular ones on the Saints roster. That be seeing them be kind of taken over as confidently as they have here up against Butler. I worry what map 2 will bring, especially if this was a Saints pick.
Right, I mean, right now, the story of this game is definitely going to be just Rapid on the struggle here. He needs to try to find it, and honestly, I can't really single him out. Everybody on St. Clair, other than Salty Boy right now, needs to find their footing. They need to just try to find something to kind of gain momentum. Johnsey's been doing such a great job on that Goyo, on the Tubarão, on that defense. And then honestly, a player that is kind of gone under the radar right now as Corey Robb preps that castle yet again is Gravy for Butler. Very aggressive player. No surprise here that we see him playing the Buck on the entry. We saw him playing a lot of Solus as well on defense. And so right now, St. Clair, you have to try to find something here to take those players out, make them a non-factor. The bandit trick not coming in time, and right now that is a dangerous angle to be playing around, especially with 2 people on that jacuzzi wall. The floor will be electrified again, and as the Nitro Cell just barely misses, Corey Robb going to seek refuge in the bathroom holding that Mira.
I mean, the fact that Corey Robb got out of there at all is an absolute testament to themselves and getting out alive, but unfortunate the bandit trick did not quite work as intended. Granted, it's only just a peek hole now instead of a full entryway, but still very scary spot to defend if you're on the side of the Saints. Gonna opt behind the mirror window instead, so fair enough there. But you could see the move right here, right now. Johnsey immediately is going to get dunked on as soon as they jump through the window, and that's going to be Jox securing that elimination there. And now the Saints are starting to turn up a little bit. Jox and Rapid both getting themselves on the board. Loch Ness has dropped. It is all down to Big Chief versus 5. I don't care how good you are, as the Saints are in position, this is going to be an absolute tough one. And sure enough, that's the round the Saints were looking for. Rapid, I believe, secures 3 in that round and gets the Saints their second round of the game here.
I mean, where was this on attack? I mean, just the guns are finally coming alive on the side of St. Clair. I think that just kind of has to be just a little more of a testimony towards how good of a defense Butler had. But so far right now, St. Clair, that was a beautiful round out of you. You need to have that same energy. Hopefully this is something that you can kind of work back on. The only thing I'm scared of is if St. Clair kind of starts to go on a roll here. Remember, Butler has that timeout in pocket,
100%.
and we all know that after a tactical timeout, the win rate of a round after a tac timeout is tremendous. So, if you're a Saints fan, you're kind of worried here, because even if they start going on a little bit of a roll, Butler can almost kind of hold this. I imagine if it ever went to like 6-4, they would probably want to call it then, because you still have 2 rounds. You can still elect to throw one, but still have another chance to end it in regulation. The Saints, if they take the next show, I would expect a Butler timeout to kind of come through and try to ice their attack. Yeah. And it's going to be definitely the test if St. Clair can get there on whether they can get through that or not.
And that'd be the point too if it did make it to that 6-4 spot where the Saints would kind of start feeling that high of momentum.
Right,
nothing kills it.
Just
if it got to that point, of course. But nothing kills momentum quite like a timeout. So very well something that Butler University could be very well keeping in the back pocket as we do get along here for the next round.
Now, what I am interested in seeing right now is Johnsey on the Sens. We know Corey Robb can counter this out as he is on Warden, so he will be able to see through the smoke, and the Solus will be able to see through, not through the smoke, but be able to see the icon of the plant when it does go down, probably through that Sens gadgetry. But the combo with the Ying is very nice, and the Dokkaebi combination is a great roam clear option. We see it being used just as I was talking about it on Rapid, and a horrible pick to find there if you're the Saints. I do like Rapid on the roam, but on Legion it's a little bit questionable. It's just because I've seen him die time and time again sometimes on that Legion, on the roam. And while he is a great Legion player, don't get me wrong, like he will absolutely dominate you if you do not deal with him properly. The problem is when you're dying on Legion, of course, you don't have those extra goo mines to go down. So now dying with, I believe, was 1 in his pocket and only 2 that would have been used on site. It's just a complete waste of utility that has come through. And now it allows Butler University to kind of traverse through this map. Because there's, I believe, no other roamers, they have found out very quickly now that the Saints are just turtling up. They can start working on verticals right now, which is what Buck is going to do. And now they can start to kind of figure out, hey, do we want to go through blue, take Moto Hatch, take Kitchen? Where do we want to go? You have a lot of time to figure out where to do so. And I feel like right now that is going to be their intention, is to take the Kitchen Hatch. I believe a hard breaching charge going down on it. And yep, there's Moto.
Here comes,
With a minute left to go, they have a lot of time to get this executed.
Yeah, and Jock's still just waiting for the opportunity here, but Loch Ness does manage to find one more. Charm on the Wamai is going to be dropped, and now with 5 on the board, all the utility they could possibly want. Dokkaebi still has 1 charge as well. We know these Yang Candelas are going to be absolutely nasty too when it gets down to the point. It will be absolute chaos on the bomb site. But there is Corey Robb there on the Warden to maybe at least be able to kind of shrug off some of those Candelas and maybe find a sneaky pick as we hear them going off the disco here on point A, it looks like. And actually kind of hung on for a second. There's a Dokebi cell phone jammer as well, just making it so difficult for the Saints to even just move. But actually, never mind. Corey Robb finds two nice and quick, maybe a third. There we go, Salty Boy on the board, but that is going to be a diffuser getting planted.
Now, is Corey Robb aware of this plant? Default plant going down from the Sens. Snowball Corey Robb going in through blue. I don't believe so. It's going to be the double pick, though, from Butler. They are going to find both of these players. And now with Salty Boy left in 33 seconds, you have to imagine, barring a miracle, this will be a Butler round. Does he see the legs through the wooden? I don't believe he does. He's able to find a couple shots here, but it's just such a one-sided angle that favors Butler a lot more than St. Clair, using the angle against themselves, knowing he has to swing close, but through the feed holes, it's going to be the Sens, the Johnsy, to put it away. And what was a dramatically, a very dramatic and dominant win for Butler. I mean, I really just don't know what was going on with St. Clair, but they just completely lost their footing on that side of attack, and they just could never get it going from the start.
Yeah, exactly like I say, just nothing could really, like no game plan could really get started for the Saints at all there. Granted, got 2 on the board, so it's not like you got swept or anything like that, but a loss like that, of course, will absolutely sting a little bit as we get ready for map number 2. But after seeing something like that, is there some sort of map that you are personally maybe trying to see our Saints go to, or is it just like across the board that's just scary?
So right now, the first thing they got to figure out is how they're going to deal with players like Johnsy and Gravy. They were giving them a really hard time on Club. Now, granted, Club is a beautiful map for Solus. It's one of the best maps for Solus. Solus is just a great operator in general. But I think right now, if I were the Saints, knowing on what I just saw, I say, if you're having a hard time defending, you might want to take it to a map where you can attack really well on. And I know the Saints can attack really well on Skyscraper. I think that Skyscraper might be a map that, you know, depending on who had the first map pick. I mean, if that was St. Clair's map pick, then this series is, I don't want to call it over.
In a rough spot.
It's in a very rough spot right now, yeah. But assuming Saints do have the next map pick, I would say that I would want to take them probably to Sky. Somewhere that can just be a little more aggressive, somewhere where you're a lot comfortable. I know St. Clair has a good Skyscraper. Or possibly, I know that they've been trying to do some planning in the works. Maybe we see a little bit of like a Chalet pick coming in from them.
That'd be different.
You know, it would be a little bit different, but yeah, I would say if I want to see any map right now, it's probably going to be Skyscraper. Could I see them falling back on like an Oregon? Yeah, it's a possibility. But right now, we're not talking about possibilities. We're talking about what we know. And what we know right now is that Butler has an absolutely solid defense, just, you know, propelled by Johnsy and Gravy.
Yeah, if we get to see that kind of defense on another map, it is going to be an absolute uphill battle for our Saints to try to deal with. And completely agree with you in regards to maybe trying like the Skyscraper or something out with it. When we saw it last week, rather, it was the map that they were a little bit more dominant on with the match they ended up playing. So maybe it is something we do end up seeing. We'll get that information slowly but surely as we go through here. But in regards to game number 1, is there any final thoughts you have before we throw this to a very, very quick break?
My final thoughts? Honestly, a very big team talk is needed right now. They have to kind of activate their players. Now, what I will say is they might be riding off a little bit of momentum. You might be saying, Patrick, how in the heck are they riding off of any momentum right now? They just got stomped 7-2. That is true. Like, don't get me wrong. That is definitely right. However, finding a round on the club defense, especially a flawless, does mean that, to me, the guns for St. Clair have come alive, especially because even in that last round, it still came down to a 1v2, right? Like, don't get me wrong, post-plan and everything, but they did start to kind of bring it back. It was just, you were seeing a lot of flawless rounds, a lot of 4 players alive on the side of Butler, no one alive for Saint rounds, dominant rounds on the side of the defense. But these last couple of rounds, especially after the attack timeout, I'm starting to notice the player counts are going down. They're starting to find more picks. Even if it's not resulting in round wins, their guns have come alive.
Right.
And I do think that now, given a full map with their guns finally back up and in order, I think that the Saints could probably make this a much closer series.
No, it definitely makes sense. I mean, like, exactly. Just there may not be the W's in regards to the rounds themselves, but they're keeping Butler honest now, and we'll have to see if that translates into game number 2. But actually, as a part of course, our Saints game day here, we will be having multiple matches going on, and we have, of course, team fight tactics from Nakutaiken's point of view. Tommy's point of view is going to be just getting started here. We'll be flipping to the best bits of all the matches that are going to be happening today. We do also have ECAC Fortnite that is going to be happening. However, if you want to specifically fixate in on one of the games, !streams in our Twitch chat will bring up all of the links to every single matchup uninterrupted. It won't have our commentary on it, but you're going to be able to see the match that you're specifically here for over and over again. And where are we going here for the next round?
Okay.
This is going to be a first for me. Is that Nighthaven?
This is Nighthaven Labs, a map that is, I believe, incredibly defensive favored. And if we look at the sides right now, St. Clair is on the attack. So that means that Butler was able to choose the sides, I'm assuming, unless St. Clair is absolutely crazy and was electing to choose on attack on Nighthaven. So what I'm going to say is I believe St. Clair is going to bring Butler to Nighthaven. Because they are bringing Butler to Nighthaven, Butler then decides what side they want first. Off of a 5-1 half on defense from Clubhouse, it is no surprise to me that Butler is going to choose to go on the defense first. And as the bans come through, I am not surprised in the slightest that we are seeing a Solus ban from St. Clair right now. Gravy was absolutely tearing them up. Leaving, however, the Fenrir on the board. We'll see if Butler opts to use that. Nope, they are going to ban it. So they, even if they don't get that 6-0 perfect half, it just shows you how much teams hate that Fenrir. You have it. You could be using it for 6 rounds, but it doesn't matter because then when you give it to the enemy team, it is that powerful of an operator. You don't want to take any risks. What I do want to say is the Azami being on the board is interesting. I wonder if Butler's going to use it at all. It seems like they're going to opt not to do so, as they're going to bring out the Castle, Mira, the Bandit, the, I believe, Jaeger, and the Legion.
Yeah, so if one thing I'm just kind of curious about too is if Clubhouse was for sure the Saints pick, because I've just never seen our Saints come to this map at all. But it's
could be something in the back pocket. I just don't look. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't seen a lot of Nighthaven, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure Nighthaven is very defensively favored. So unless this is something that St. Clair has in their back pocket, I don't necessarily know why, if this is Butler's map, why St. Clair would choose to go on the attack first. Maybe they have something cooking. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this. Like I said, first time that I'm casting Nighthaven, this is going to be a new one for me as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both teams play around here. But regardless, with St. Clair on the attack, they have to try to get through this basement defense. And the key here is definitely going to be getting vertical control.
Okay. And going to be seeming a relatively similar team composition in regards to the operators picked here for Saints on the attack, and keeping everything there for the side of defense, but just pretty standard across the board, at least when I'm seeing from other maps. But I'm definitely going to be agreeing with you. You have all the details and all the analysis here for R6. I've been crushing it so far here on the desk, so definitely looking forward to learning more here as we both learn in Nighthaven together, I suppose, here in this one for the Saints. First time, of course, seeing them on this map this season anyway.
And there's that vertical control that I was talking about. They're trying to get the vertical control here, but it seems like a bunch of these players on the side of Butler have already fallen back. They know the intel was kind of after them. They are going to elect to fall back. And now as the engagement kind of comes through, it's going to be rapid to take a little bit of damage. They need to try to find a way to clear out this roam again. Butler's roam is just so incredibly strong, and I believe they're going to have even 3 players around. That's a great first pick, though, as Corey Robb opens up the board.
Yeah, it gets the 1 onto the Legion, so no more goo mines for now, at least. Anything that's on the floor is all that will be there. But now where do they opt to go from there? Jocks with a diffuser, slowly but surely making their way through. A little bit of verticality coming through, but majority of the Saints possibly on a collision course here with Johnsy and Gravy if they keep moving this direction. But slowly but surely, you're going to use the hatch and they are going to jump on through, but they are going to lose one right away, but they do trade it.
So the direct take is going to be a little bit questionable. Can they find the trade back? Yes, they can. Trade's going back and forth. Korab being able to go on the top. However, the top side of it at least, Johnsy trying to come down from the flank, but Jox is going to clear him back up, and now Gravy finds himself in a 1v3 that he does not want to be on the side of. Plant going down, he's going to try to find the shot, but Charm is able to take it. So maybe I am mistaken. Maybe this map is attacker-sided, so maybe this is Butler's map pick. Again, it would make sense, because even as I was talking to my Saints players, I didn't hear any talk of Nighthaven whatsoever. So I'm going to actually switch up what I assumed in the first part. This is definitely Butler's map, and St. Clair have definitely chosen the attack here. And that just makes it even scarier for me, because if Butler was able to 7-2 the Saints on the Saints map, that's a problem.
I mean, if I'm going to like huff the copium a little bit, maybe just this is a defender-sided map and our Saints are just that good on attacking on Nighthaven? Maybe, but I mean, from what you're explaining, that does absolutely sound like it could very well be the case, of course, but a much better start here for the Saints to get themselves on the board nice and quick. Everybody, for the most part, getting themselves on the board with an elimination, and just everyone able to like make that round not necessarily a close one.
And I wonder how this mirror setup on Nanotech and Assembly is going to go down. It's going to be interesting to see how these strats get played out here. Again, Nighthaven, even a map that in like most Pro League lobbies doesn't really necessarily get picked too often. It's kind of a new one. A lot of teams still don't really like it. So, you know what? I'm honestly, if this is Butler's map pick, I am a little bit surprised, but it might even be a little bit of an ego pick as well, because of the fact that if they truly did 7-2 the Saints on the Saints map, it does seem like this could be Butler doing a little bit of a funny map pick here, which I don't really support, because the Saints have taken the first round, and it just goes to show you that no matter what, when you're in this league of competition, these players are here for a reason. Both teams are 2-0 for a reason. These guys seriously have some dogs on both sides of the field, and you really don't want to underestimate either team walking into it.
Absolutely, but of course Butler would have had to have predicted that like the first map on Clubhouse would have went as like one-sided as it did, and make that prediction to pick this, but have to see as we then go on through here. Of course, down in the basement looks like is where this bomb site is going to be this time by. We'll probably see, oh, never mind, there's a first elimination here. Salty Boy is going to get taken down pretty well instantly.
That was picture perfect. That's what you want to see from the roam. Are they aware of the second player? Yes, they are. Mad Dog has just gone on an absolute tear there, and I believe same with, I think it was Johnsy upstairs. It's an absolutely perfect take. When you are roaming up top, be able to find that first pick and again, then change levels. It's kind of like, you know, you're just trying to retreat a little bit after. You have that man advantage. So we saw the first pick coming through. Notice the defender immediately drops the hatch, changing levels, getting back to his guys on defense. This is going to be a very rough round for St. Clair. They do have what it takes to get onto site and get an entry going, but the problem is obviously it's going to be a lot harder when you don't have those Candelas from the Ying. They are going to find the first, though, as Rapid opens up with a pick onto the Bandit. Swings coming through, double-sided, and now the vault into Nanotech. It's going to be Rapid with the double kill. And right now, another player injured on the side of Butler. But now the 2v1 advantage, because the Planter is not an active gun. They are going to be able to get the res onto Big Chi. And now Rapid finds himself in a very tight position, dancing around the pillar. He's going to be able to get rid of that ADS on the side of the Jaeger. Aware of the player going to his left, that Nitro Cell is going to spell his end, though. And a beautiful one at that. The peek coming through, Charm's going to be able to find one. But on 1 HP, he's going to accidentally step into the Bandit battery. And that's going to spell the end for him. And a tragic round on the side of St. Clair.
Oh my goodness, it was such a close one, but yeah, he was literally on a pixel of health, and the electricity just ends up taking him down. I will give St. Clair some props, however. What they lacked with utility because they lost to 2 players, they made up for with speed and commitment. They just, as a unit, as a death ball basically, dropped that hatch, got onto the site and managed to find the first initial pick and get that diffuser down. They did everything right considering that they were playing a little bit short-handed, but just could not quite clutch it out there in the end in an absolute tragic way for the round to end. I know I've definitely done that a few times, and I've probably taken like a week or two break after that, because that one hurts a little bit. You want that one back.
No, that's definitely a little bit of a mauling round there from St. Clair. You can definitely tell the players are probably a little distraught, but mental is key, and you cannot let a round like that slip by and play on you, have that mental plague. You have to remember, St. Clair almost had that round in the bag. They were looking good, and even on a 3-on-5 entry, they brought it down to a 1v1. That's a very positive outlook on things. If you can just kind of keep that sort of, you know, vision in your head, you might be able to stay a little bit more calm with the result inevitably ending up as a Butler win. Jumping out to the lineups, though, we see kind of the same thing as usual. The Ying right now, not an operator that I saw being brought out in the first 2 weeks for St. Clair, but they've really been loving using that Ying. And right now, as we look at the Azami setting up on second floor warehouse balk, it seems like those Kiba barricades are going to be this point of focus that St. Clair needs to take out if they want to make an execute into sight.
Yeah, it's going to make it really awkward to try and get on to the site if you have to go deal with those pancakes. But the Saints moving on in.
Surrounding.
Yeah, not too bad to start things off here. And I guess the Saints have just kind of gotten tired of strictly only dealing with the Ying, but are going to bring it for themselves a little bit more often, as we do see Rapid, unfortunately, going to be falling early here. And another solid shot here, this time from Big G. Does manage to get traded out at least, so a little bit of a 1-for-1. 3-on-4 with about 2 minutes still to go.
Right, and as the vault comes in through here, it should be Johnsy picking up the kill, and it's going to be exactly that. Finding the double onto Salty Boy as well, cooking a Ying Candela, just wasn't aware of the roamer's position. And now Jox finds himself in what I will say is a pretty impossible pretty impossible round here. But as the roamer tries to run out, again, I kind of think Butler's playing a little bit cocky here, and it makes sense. Like, they are doing great, but the score is only 1-1. I mean, it's going to pretty much be the end of this round for sure. I expect the 2-1 coming out here on the side of Butler, but we will get back to that in a bit. We have some Fortnite and some TFT on the screen right now, and just to let you guys know, if you do get sick of hearing me and Dan on commentary for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe you're just kind of weird. I mean, I don't know what you guys
But
like,
you might want to
fixate
fixate in on specifically one
but
title.
I will say, if you do want to see the gameplay only, you do want to put down ! streams in chat. That will bring you to all the streams, and you will be able to pick the title that you want to view yourself.
Absolutely. Of course, that is the beauty of Game Day, is being able to get all the teams, all of these matches, as many as possible, covered in every single day. With having so many teams, focusing on one match is not possible, oftentimes than not. But we do come back here with 35 seconds to go. Jox is just absolutely getting pinched. They know exactly where he is. It's just a matter of time before he gets locked down.
First.
Does manage to find one, but as he's reloading, he is going to get charged, and that will seal the deal here. It's going to be another round in the pocket here for Butler.
Now, I will say, although the run-out did come out early from Butler, obviously, they were just kind of fooling around. The second that roamer comes back inside, all of Butler doing a really good job of just not giving Jox anything, or at least barely anything. They played their positions really well, played it patient, and as we move into some Fortnite, it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints can try to get back into the game and hopefully take a couple more rounds on attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with this one here, of course, game number 1, 2 games for both TFT and for Fortnite here today happening as well, and based off of some of the highlights that I'm seeing around the player, there could be some opponents nearby right off of the initial landing, which is kind of what we were talking about during the pre-show, where they would have these sections that they would land into, look to start looting, and they would get into battles way earlier than I think they were possibly expecting, and unfortunately not necessarily being able to win those gunfights. So as the storm is slowly but surely going to start going in, they are going to make their way on over momentarily, but of course, with this being a build mode as well, you will expect that probably the first little bit of this game, if uncontested, will result in a lot of farming. But of course, do want to hop on back over while the farming is pursuing here. Let's get in with the Rainbow Six Siege action, as it looks like we are getting ready for the next round.
Right, I mean, this is a kitchen defense, so it makes sense to see Mad Dog just jumping out real quick. You want to get that hatch that is just outside of the map, able to do so quickly and get back inside. The Saints not able to capitalize on that. However, are they aware of this Warden's position? Are they aware that Gravy is waiting just on the other side of this window? Johnsy as well. They have such an aggressive roam style, Butler does, but they are doing such a good job of just maintaining lives, finding those picks, and not getting retraded. You really just have to kind of give it up to them. It's not really more of a, hey, what's St. Clair doing bad? It's just more of a, hey, what is Butler doing really well? And so what I'm saying is they're doing a really good job of just keeping this roam consistent without losing very much. St. Clair, you got to find a way out of it, and that's going to be a great start. And another great start. That is exactly what St. Clair needed to do. Now, it will be traded back out by Mad Dog, but with his intentions clear and position revealed, it's only going to be a matter of time before they start to get onto him. However, that is a horrible take by St. Clair. Charm just unfortunately not being able to find the shot. They give yet another pick, untradeable, back to Mad Dog. And as Lockness finds another N2 for his liking, it's going to be Big G on the roam as well. It's just another beautiful Butler roam. Even when St. Clair kind of finds the first couple of picks, they are just so solid at retrading and not dying after.
I mean, you mentioned a little bit earlier that it seems like the Butler University squad has been playing a little cocky or a little confident. That's usually, I'll completely agree with you, since usually when I see somebody pick an alibi, it's somebody kind of just trying to mess around and troll a little bit. And what we saw there from Mad Dog may have been the last one to show up to the lobby, but is the first one to show up on the kill feeds, it seems like, here for Butler. Just been doing a fantastic job in their own right. Going to go back to the Legion this time by, it looks like, as the Saints back to the drawing board for this next attack.
Right, I mean, I'm a fan of seeing the Jackal come out here for St. Clair. They need to try to find these roamers early. Last round was a great take. The problem was they just weren't prepared for Butler to play as aggressive as they were. All of them left site immediately, and with the info they had after that Lockness double kill, it was just all simply over from there. It's going to be interesting to see what St. Clair can try to do to counter it out. We are going to be back on that basement defense, and as Salty Boy tries to gather intel, I'm going to bring up something that is a little bit undershadowed that doesn't get talked about enough, and that is the fact that whenever St. Clair dies, whenever a St. Clair player dies, there are a lot of drones in their pocket. I do notice that is a weakness right now for St. Clair. Whenever they die, you can just kind of watch the board. You will see a lot of these players have another drone or even two in their back pocket. You don't necessarily have to push by swinging everything. You can guide a player in with that intel. Obviously, St. Clair will do that, but the whole point is I want to see a little more drone work out of St. Clair here. I think it could really save them on the back foot against this aggressive roam.
And is that just a little bit of impatience and a little bit of like an itchy trigger finger to kind of get in on the play, you think?
I mean, not necessarily. I think especially when you have ops like Solus sometimes roaming around, she is kind of a drone hunter.
True.
However, with no Solus on the board right now, if I were St. Clair, I'd want like about 8 or 9 of these drones, honestly, out and on the move gathering intel. It doesn't necessarily even have to be about getting a roamer, but just getting that drone into sight and finding utility or hiding it somewhere where you are going to do your take is a massive advantage on the defense. And right now, I mean, as you can see, St. Clair, let's count them up real quick, as the drone does get tossed out by Rapid. They still have a player with 2 in the pocket, and everyone else still has a drone. With a minute 40 right now, they do have time, and as they breach this hatch, I imagine a little more drone work coming in here would be nice to see, but it's only going to be a matter of time. And with 0 picks on the board right now, the tension is getting hot.
Absolutely. I'd rather face check with a drone instead of my own face, but we do see Rapid kind of leading the charge with the rest of the Saints shortly, and so try and make some of this vertical play. Work here alongside the Jackal utility, trying to lock some players down. Nobody's really going to get tagged up. Like Johnsy, like maybe a bit, but like barely. Rapid nearly finding the wrong side of a Nitro Cell. Going to be taken down quite a bit, but not enough for the elimination. So still in this game. A minute left to go now for the Saints to try and make this attack work. 5 on 5. Can they pull this off?
You know, the thing is right now, with 50 seconds left, it's going to be tough because when they do go into the site, it is going to have to be a rush. And with the crosses being held by Butler, it's going to be hard to imagine that the Saints are going to find anything clean here. But it is Rainbow Six Siege, and as they drone themselves in, Gumine being hit, they will be aware of that player on the top of the stairs. And now they just have to kind of sit and wait. It is going to be Corey Rob picked off as he did hit that Gumine earlier. Butler was aware of his position. And right now, it is just a melting pot, and St. Clair finds themselves in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Salty Boy's going to look to try and trade one out, but it's not going to end up getting all of it. So with Charm going down 2-on-5 with 10 seconds left to go, Jox does have the diffuser in hand, but how do you go through to get there? And sure enough, Big Chi is right there to answer immediately. Salty Boy's going to be the last alive, and they all know there's no way to pursue this one. That is going to be another round on the board here for Butler as they continue some solid dominance here on Nighthaven.
Right, I mean, as soon as the goo mine went off on Vending Stairs, right, immediately the Ash gets picked off right after. And then it's just going to be a domino effect, and it usually is, because when you lose that first person on attack and you have that little time to work with a push, you need to try to make it work. You are the attacking side, you need to be the aggressor. In doing so, though, when you have the defenders sitting back and watching each other's cross angles and everything, aware of where all the utility is coming through, it just seems to kind of be a little bit of a stalling push. And when it does eventually happen, it's too little too late. The Thermite trying to get himself through the hatch onto the drop, and it's going to be found out by the Mira immediately, just playing parallel of that window. So it is a little bit difficult right now if you are St. Clair, and I can for sure say that I was right in my initial prediction. This is definitely looking like a very defensive-sided map if you are looking at Nighthaven Labs through this scope.
We may have flip-flopped a little bit on it, but what I will say right now is it's looking like a Butler-sided map, regardless, because it's just seems like they can do no wrong other than that first round that didn't necessarily go their way. They've been basically on the ball ever since. Of course, halftime right around the corner here. Saints are going to take a crack and see if they can make defense work, of course, shortly after. Let's see if they can maybe snag a second point on the board here before the half. But definitely a bit of an uphill battle as they go over towards the second floor. Bombs are ready and waiting, but where are the members of Butler?
I don't think Rapid's aware of this person just sitting on top of...
They've been so crafty.
Oh my gosh, and with the wall... with almost a wallbang coming through. I really thought on that balcony that Gravy would have had one. Rapid aware of the position right now. But as the player sitting on west side and Corey Rob tries to hint at that window, I don't think he even knows that there's a player playing right next to it. It's going to be Gravy on the first swing. He's going to pick up one. He knows there's a second one as well. Just looking to pull back. There's no reason to give your life away. You already have the man advantage. You can just sit and hold the close angle, waiting for Rapid to make his move. And as he does, you have to imagine he's going to be met with a close engagement. Swinging around the corner, he knows the pulse, but it's going to be picked off. That UMP, slow fire rate, but it does do some massive damage up close. It's going to be the Pulse finding the second pick, and right now, this map is looking all Butler University.
And I was thinking to myself, I didn't want to say anything, because obviously, you know more in this scenario, there's a good little pick there from Charm. But with the way that Mad Dog was playing, I'm thinking to myself, why don't they pull out the Pulse? They're always next to walls and all these explosive areas.
Right.
I feel like he can be getting so much value off it, and I think they might have kind of clued in onto that, seeing the Pulse here in this one. But we do hear Salty Boy firing off Toasty and Candelas, but it is going to be Johnsy finding one. Does manage to find the player this time by, but are they able to capitalize on it? As of right now, they do find one. 2-on-2 now, as Jox finds one more. Loch Ness has next to no health, and it will be taken down eventually, so it is all up to the Pulse. It's all up to Mad Dog to try and get this.
Nope, I don't believe they are, because the planter is exposed right now, and if the cover is not met, this will be a kill onto the planter. The Pulse not able to round the corner. Salty Boy, really good play by him. He definitely heard the player creeping up, walking up, especially if it's not alt walking anymore, standing up fully, and just heard the sound. It was a really good heads-up play there by Salty Boy, narrowly saving his planter from a matter of pixels of being peaked and dying.
Absolutely, a very, very close scenario, but the Saints clutch out in the end. Good to see they've gotten two before the half. But of course, our game day is in progress alongside our R6 action. We do have Teamfight Tactics alongside Nakutaiken, as well as our Fortnite team competing. That's going to be Unknown and Tayo, both competing in ECAC. If you want to fixate in on one of these matches, !streams will give you the raw gameplay of each of these broadcasts, of course, on a small 3-minute delay, of course, for competitive integrity reasons. Otherwise, you're going to get the best bits of it, basically everything, here with us on the main Saints Gaming CA channel. So if you do want to see something, again, !streams will bring everything up in the Twitch chat.
Right, and I mean, just looking at the Fortnite games so far, I believe we're still kind of in the early stages of things. The players have a little bit of good weaponry on their side right now, probably just making sure that they have enough mats to contest for that big tower that we're probably going to see when all things come to a close end, if they can stay alive from there. A little bit of an engagement that they're probably looking to just back away on for now. But again, it's a little bit early, so if you are the Saints, you do want to play passive. Going back into some Siege, though, Loch Ness is going to be able to get picked up after he did find the pick onto the mirror as well in Salty Boy. And right now with the Saints on defense, they need to replicate what Butler just did, and they're not having a great start.
And somebody on the Saints is maybe making a quick move on the outside, but not going to get taken down this time by here. Loch Ness rather low, but still trying to make it do as that hard breach, of course. Rather reliant, or rather important player, of course, on the side of Butler. But now Gravy making their move on over, going to see the castle barricade and look to find a way around. And a little bit of verticality coming through once again. Johnsy does manage to find Corey Rob. So the mute off the table here, 3 on 5 with about 2 minutes to go.
Right, and Rapid's going to have to make a little bit of a weird rotation right now. He has the opening on the breach, and is he aware of the Thatcher just playing close on that? I believe turning his back to it, I won't think so, but now the call-out has been made, as one Saints player definitely did see that Thatcher. And as the play onto the server's wall is going to come through, it's going to be another one of these scrappy takes that kind of make their way. And that is an absolutely huge and pivotal pick there if you are Butler, finding the Azami playing on the mirror wall onto the server. Now Rapid and Charm, they're going to have to make something work. They do have the cross angles onto the player walking in from breach, but now as the smokes go down, Charm is completely blind to any push happening. Plant going down, quick peeking is Rapid, but he isn't aware of the player creeping up close from the breach side. It's going to be that Thatcher. Bangs the smoke coming in, and it's going to find a little bit of damage, but all that Butler has to do right now is just hold their crosses, even one getting aggressive on the side of Mad Dog with that F2 holographic in hand. Just the F2 is such a high damage dealing weapon, and especially with the recoil nerfs that it's been given, some people like to slap a one-time scope on it, and it just becomes an absolute beam.
Absolutely brutal there for the Saints. They just, regardless of which angle they really peaked, there was somebody covering it. And the Fuser was basically able to get that done. A nice snipe, actually. Ayo, the fantastic shot there from Teo to get it right before the building actually even came out. So fantastic job there. Could find another one looking for it. Does give away their position, though. Gets the building up and underway. Of course, this one being on twitch.tv/Teo, again, ! streams to get the raw gameplay of each of our game day feeds here today. Of course, going to still be keeping tabs on everything, getting the best little bits here on the Saints Gaming CA stream. But so far, so good here for Saints Fortnite, after they've been able to kind of get past that early portion. It's a little small, can't necessarily see exactly how many teams we still have left in this one, but that storm is definitely getting smaller, and so getting close to the end there.
Right, and as we hop back into Siege right now, it's been a little bit of a rough one for the Saints, but it seems like they need to just try to not let their mental get the best of them. They need to try to just calm down on this defense right now. And you got to really think, what has Butler been doing so well? It's been these split pushes that we've been seeing, especially last round. They're able to take one through breach, and they have the split onto server wall as well. They take that ground, they're able to just get in. The Saints' roam is not doing enough, and I really think that right now you need to kind of throw a little bit of a curveball and a wrench into Butler's plans here. I want to see the Saints just do something that we haven't really seen yet, something that's in their back pocket that they haven't shown anyone. It seems like they might need to kind of use something like this. Again, a 2-0 team versus 2-0 team, this match does mean a lot, especially in the long-term scheme of things as well. So the Saints really got to kind of lay it all out right now if they want to get back into this map. As 2 minutes passes by, the first engagement should be coming in soon.
Yeah, we had seen in our pre-show, we're seeing all the rankings and whatnot, not a shot against James Madison University. They're a solid R6 team in their own right. However, I feel like, since we've played them before, but watching how Butler's playing, Butler might have a good argument to possibly be the first seed here in this group. So if they can keep this up, they'd be sitting pretty for the rest of this regular season, as it is going to be Gravy with the initial pick immediately onto the Corey Rob, who did try something a little bit different there with the Valkyrie. But as of right now, like, we may have those extra cameras, some extra eyes on the offensive side, but as of right now, a little bit behind.
And as the player does cross Rapid's sightline on Warehouse, it is going to be not found. Just shooting out the breaching charge right now. Corey Rob is going to be dead as well from earlier. However, even though the Valk is gone, yes, it is a Nitro out of pocket. And don't get me wrong, that's a big problem. But now the Valk can just afford to just sit on her cams and just give comms. Rapid in a very tough spot, though. Bearing down him as a player on Breach who has him at low health, and you have to imagine that surely enough they are going to start kind of to commit to Rapid. Just clearing out that Warehouse player is so good for the push, and that's going to be exactly what they look to do. But Gravy's going to fall. Traded back, though, is Big Cheese going to find the pick onto Salty Boy. Another one from Mad Dog onto Charm. And right now, the Saints just seem like they're kind of over-peaking their angles a little bit. However, it's hard to say that when Butler is just putting so much pressure on these angles. Rapid to try to play the superhero, trying to get back into sight, but he's going to be down. And as Jox finds one, he is unaware of the whole team rotate onto second floor Warehouse. It is going to be Butler's round yet again. And this is one of the most dominant showings I've seen in a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, our Academy R6 squad is no slouch.
No pushovers.
No pushovers at all. So the fact that Butler University is taking control as dominantly as they have been is definitely an eye-opening scenario and an impressive task for them indeed. Of course, this is not over, but this is definitely an uphill battle to say the least. But now, Saints are relying all on this final defense, or possibly final defense, if it's now or never.
Yeah, and I mean, now or never, you could not think of any better words. St. Clair cannot screw up once. If they do, it is going to spell not only the game, but the series for them. And right now, is Charm trying to get a lineup onto... I wonder if he was trying to find like a Nitro lineup. I don't really know. He was just kind of backing away and just pointing his crosshair there. I'm unaware of any Nitro lineups on Nighthaven as of right now, because it's just not a map that you see very often. It's one that everyone's still learning, and it was only added to the map rotation very recently. So again, I am actually very curious. I want to know who picked this map, because having a really good Nighthaven in their back pocket, if Butler has a really good Nighthaven in their back pocket, that is a brilliant map to bring out, because so many teams are just so new to it that it's going to leave them really confused. And, you know, if this is Butler's map, they've done a perfect job of doing exactly what I've just said against St. Clair.
And if there's, like, I may have been out of the R6 scene for a little bit, but if there's one thing I remember, it's whenever a new map comes out, everybody bans it, everybody hates it, nobody plays on it in ranked. Like, it might as well not even exist. Let's go back to Cafe Clubhouse and Coastline.
Absolutely.
But being able to be that, that outlier, because people knowing that a lot of teams don't necessarily like those maps, they're probably not going to really ban it. And if it gets through, just similarly to like how it's happening here today, like you're saying, it's just that extra tool in your pocket that's just going to push you forward.
Right, absolutely. And as Corey Rob looks for this bandit trick, he's been really good and successful of doing it on Clubhouse, but you gotta wonder, with 3 walls to look out for, it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially because, yes, while they do have that tuber out, you can no longer bandit trick, and as Rem tries to find the first entry, it's going to be an absolutely stellar shot onto Rapid's dome. Again, dying early on that Legion is going to probably spell doom for the St. Clair Saints. And right now, however, you know what? I was going to say it wasn't bad, especially with the Miragon, but they're going to find 2 quick picks of their own. It is going to be the Buck and the Yana, I believe. And now, St. Clair, it looks like they have to try to stop a full-on rush that is coming through. Butler is not taking any more time. They want to get this thing over with, and St. Clair needs to respond.
Absolutely, 3-on-3 now. Where is the diffuser? It is in Johnsy's pocket, so it's still absolutely in play here. As we see, Jock's firing through, getting a little bit of damage there onto the Thermite. But there we go, Johnsy is going to end up going 1-for-1 here as the disco continues here on site. 1 member left there, Loch Ness versus 2. Corey Rob is going to end up finding them. So there we go. Right when it mattered most, Saints keep themselves in the game.
Right, I mean, the dance of death around the mirror window that's already broken, it's going to be a relatively stable gunfight if you are on that attacking side because you do have that mirror broken. But when you have that second player that can cover your flank and cover your 6, it's going to be a lot harder as that attacker in that 2v1 scenario to find any success there. Really well played by the Saints. However, I will say it is a little bit worrying that they still cannot seem to find that roam presence. That Ram, obviously, you know, such a good operator for entry. He can get into stuff quick, can get through walls very quickly, barricades as well. And I mean, that boogie drone is just an absolute havoc when you put it on a soft floor for vertical control. So the fact that they're finding these first picks onto roamers on the side of St. Clair, it's just a little bit concerning if you are a Saints fan. They need to try to find something that can stop Butler from gaining the upper ground first.
And the quickly update, as we did kind of get a peek of teamfight tactics there. Unfortunately for Tomio, for Nakataiken, it seems like that's going to be an early exit there for him in that round. Looks like a 6th place finish. I think went for the carry Caitlyn build, and it just did not quite hit the mark this time by. So probably one of, if not his earliest exit so far of the season. Does have another game afterwards, though, to try and get back into this one. And that'll be happening very, very shortly, as it looks like that game was down to the final 2. But what's possibly also a little bit final here is if Butler can get one more win here on our Saints, that will be the series. Let's see them making their way for this next attack. Corey Rob getting a little bit of damage, but hanging in there for now.
Right, and peeking around the kitchen window, if I'm Corey Rob right now, I mean, the Nitro Cell wasted as well. I'm not a fan of that. There's no reason to peek this. It is a window that you can literally just wait for the attacker to vault through. Wasting a Nitro Cell as well is vital in a site that relies so much on vertical pressure. That Nitro is usually your key to getting rid of someone putting that pressure on you, and now you've just wasted one for nothing. So now the Saints only down to 1 Nitro Cell, and as the pings from the drones come out, they are aware of Jox's position. Having to dip and dive around, the intel is going to be the winner, as Gravy is going to eventually find the pickup onto him. And with Valcams being found out by the IQ as well on the side of Butler, this is a very strong start to their attack.
Yeah, the Saints were desperate to try and find some sort of way to gather more intel. The Valk was essentially the answer to that. And immediately, like a round later, you got Big G there with the IQ, just taking it all away from the Saints, forcing them to play in these kind of heads-up scenarios. Rapid does find one, however, to keep them honest, keep this into a 4-on-4. Good shot again here from Rapid to find the second one on the John Z. Huge pick there as well. Charm gonna find one more. The Saints defense might be coming alive right when it matters. 2 more to go if they can hang on to this one.
And it seems like the Saints have kind of pulled a complete 180 here. You would think with a minute 50 left on the round that it was all Butler's to win, but now with a minute 10, it is completely flipped.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, Butler had the utility, they had the man count, they had literally everything you would have ever wanted. But with a T5 in Rapid's hands, it's going to spell doom completely for Butler here, barring a miracle. So right now, with 50 seconds left, St. Clair needs to just try to play safe, turtle up, not give any stupid picks, don't peek anything stupid. If I'm Rapid right now, I might even just run away from this. But as he's trying to go back and forth into the gunfights and the peaks, I'm not a fan of this. There are 2 players here. But if Rapid does find one, it's almost going to pretty much confirm the round for the Saints. Probably just opting to waste time here. Vertical presence being held here, but it is going to work as a 2-way angle, and Loch-Ness is going to find most of his health bar gone because of it. Going down the main stairs now, trying to be very quiet. Does Rapid know about the attacker's presence and how they've kind of moved? Surely Salty Boy's gunfight will definitely tell him now. And as there are only 10 seconds left in the round, it's going to have to be dire for Butler. They have to peek these angles. St. Clair doing a great job of playing patient, letting the attackers go to them, and they're going to clean up and make this game 6-4.
As you'll say, at that point when it got down to the 4-on-2, you don't even necessarily have to pressure too much because they still did have the Legion alive as well. Just keep littering the floor with those goo mines all around the bomb site, and I'm sure they're gonna have to eventually push onto site, but you cannot, of course, plant that diffuser if you have the goo mine stuck in you, so you would have ended up timing out in that scenario. The Saints playing to their win condition, taking it nice and slow. It's not the fanciest way to play, it's not oftentimes the most exciting way to play, but it was effective, and they are bringing this one back. 6-4 now. Butler, of course, still on match point and series points if they can manage to find themselves with one more, but the Saints defense is coming alive right when we need it.
Right, I mean, interesting that we have Salty Boy on the Clash.
I was about to say,
usually an operator that you see brought out all that often. Clash essentially slowing those attackers down. However, most people in lower ranks tend to panic with a Clash. A lot of people just forget, though, that if it is a one-on-one, you can just rush the Clash, knife the shield. It allows for a split second of time where you can literally either hip fire or ADS onto her foot and gain a lot of damage in. It is usually only going to take about 2 swipes of that shield to be able to down her after when you have those bullets going through. So, on the side of Butler, it's going to be interesting to see how they counter this, especially because they had the Thatcher, which would have countered the Clash, actually, because it would have turned off her shield, deactivated that shield, but they elect to switch and bring in the secondary Hard Breacher on the Ace. Going to be interesting to see how they attack this.
I've definitely had many nightmares going up against the Clash, but I'm also terrible, so we'll have to see how this one ends up going down. We asked for the Saints to try something different, and that they are. The Clash going to be interesting nonetheless here as Loch Ness and the rest of the Butler University squad making their way over towards that bomb site, already really having it kind of exposed, so they can make their way through at any point, but they are probably going to see now the Clash ready and waiting. Sure enough, yep, that they do. Just kind of blocking that doorway with one person behind them, but Corey Rob's actually going to be the first to fall with Rapid right afterwards.
Wow.
An absolute tragic start here to this round, but Saints still have 3 left, could possibly get a comeback here if they find themselves a solid defensive positioning.
And I believe right now, the Clash is just trying to hold onto this last angle, but yeah, aware of the Ash's positioning. If you were St. Clair, there was a moment where you could have countered that Clash. She wasn't looking through the window vault and there was no one covering. As the gunfight is going to be found out, it's going to be Salty Boy trying to find the pick, but it's not going to happen. This round just kind of all says Butler, and with the Clash as the last remaining, going to find 2, but you have to bring that shield out eventually. People will peek. However, opting to use the primary. I don't know what I'm saying. I said opt to bring the shield out. You would not want to opt to bring the shield out. You have diffuser right here and an active gun. You are going to want to keep that gun up. Now bringing the shield out is interesting, probably just trying to stall time, but with a minute left, they have more than enough time to make their move. You want to dance around this Kiba barricade right now, and just be aware that that back window is open if you are Salty Boy. I do not remember if a breach came through the other side, but it will not matter, so the flank won't even happen. And it's going to be the end of that game and the end of the series. Butler taking it 2-0, surpassing expectations I had of them. Very impressive showing from Butler University.
Absolutely, a standout team in their own right so far. It was good to see at the very tail end there, the Saints definitely keeping them honest, bringing it up to 4 rounds when their back was up against the wall. And then even for a individual shout out, I do want to kind of give a shout out to Salty Boy, because it felt like there was a lot of times where he was the last player alive, and yet he was still managing to turn these 1-on-4s, like 1-3s, 1-on-5s even, into a round that was doable but tough. But could not get it done this time by here. Just Butler, extremely strong squad.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we could talk about, you know, the Saints all day, what they had to fix, what they did wrong or whatever, but I would rather want to focus on that. And I think, honestly, the reason why the Saints just lost here today is because Butler just put on an absolutely amazing showing. I mean, so good on the roam. Let's talk about, like, map 1, Clubhouse, right? I mean, they just, for the life of St. Clair, could not deal with the Soulless out of Gravy and Johnsy on the Goyo. It was an absolute slaughterhouse for those two running around and just never able to deal with the power positions. Map 2, it kind of looks like the same thing on the defensive side. The Saints just having a really tough time attacking on both sides. And when you are attacking first, it's hard to gain any momentum when you're losing 4 or 5 rounds to start to then claw it back on the defensive half. So it might have been just kind of an attacker struggle defensive masterclass by Butler. But in the end, Butler did exactly what they needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Just especially in game number 1, that like swarming feeling that the Saints kind of had, where no matter which way you looked, there was somebody just right there, and all that was to do with just trying to deal with those roamers on defense, and could not quite get the ball rolling per se. But still, GG's nonetheless there to Butler, definitely showing why they were 2-0 to start things off, and
absolutely
going to be probably one of those teams fighting for that top spot as the season goes along. We could probably find a matchup against them during the playoffs if this keeps going the way that it is. But with the rest of the match that has been going down, the first match of Fortnite did complete as well. Was not quite 100% sure in regards to positioning and kills, but we'll get the update on that as soon as we possibly can. But in terms of teamfight tactics as well, that'll be going into game 2 very, very shortly. Like we were talking a little bit before, Nakataiken did end up going down in 6th position this time by a little bit of a lower early finish this time by, but still one more game left for a little redemption and just waiting on some scores. We have to wait for a little bit, though, in regards to the rest of our Saints, but still plenty of action, of course, here on this Saints game day.
Yeah, and, you know, what I was going to say is on the Fortnite side of things, it's good that we were able to see, as we were panning out, it seemed like Teo and Unknown were on sort of that near last circle, so it seems like they've sort of started to figure out that formula, because last week it was just kind of an off day, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see where they place when we do get that info. That would be very nice. And if we get to see that second game, I could not wait to watch that one for sure.
Absolutely. It does sound like it's going to be getting started very, very momentarily. And just a matter of time there. Actually, sure enough, got the Twitch chat open here, and Nakataiken is in the chat saying we're still waiting on the lobby invite. So it's going to be a little bit of time still before the next TFT game, but it means that we do get to actually focus in on a little Fortnite here, hopping in with Unknown and Teo for round number 2 here. Do they get an early contest, or do they have a little bit of time to free farm? We'll have to see as this one gets started. The first game, they had a little bit of time for themselves to really farm up, and like you were mentioning, we didn't necessarily see the conclusion of the first Fortnite game, but we did see that at least early they were A-OK, pretty well uncontested, making it to that final circle. It's just a matter of how chaotic was it everywhere else around the map. Was there any other teams getting eliminated, or was it a rather large fight at the final circle?
Right, and I mean, I believe they're going to be dropping into Lavish, and this is where they were dropping in last week as well. It seems to kind of be their place. They kind of like this area of the map to start off, and it makes sense because it allows for easy rotations and just easy access into the middle of the map where that last circle is most likely going to be. Now, however, it's going to be just a slow game of farming and mats, and I really love this stage of Fortnite because it usually just allows for some calm starts. However, that is not going to be the case. I believe there are 2 players gliding right now that, yes, they are going to try to take out Tag for 18. Just trying to pop some shots at him, letting them know, hey, go get your own loot somewhere else.
Yeah.
And right now, it's just going to be a hopefully slow and methodical start for our Saints player. Hopefully not a lot of gunfights to get into. They really do need to try to find 2 good placements here based off of how last week went.
Absolutely, definitely have a little bit of catch up to do. The little turret there is going to open fire, but of course that's going to be onto one of the NPCs. So they're A-OK to just keep on looting here, and then finally getting something other than the initial gray, which they did manage to kind of level up into the purple assault rifle here. So a little bit of a decent position to try and fight back here. Going to end up taking care of the NPC slowly but surely. And they do have some healing, so not a terrible start here overall. But is that a shotgun coming on through? No, it's just more guards just to make things just a little bit more irritating, but nothing but shield damage.
Right, I mean, they're just trying to like play again slow for loot. This is just kind of what Fortnite does. And I really do think this is a reason why, as it blew up on Twitch so long ago, I do think the reason for that, as Sean Bernier has discussed, our professor, is just because it allows for a lot of casters and for the streamers themselves to just kind of have a little bit of a chill, relaxing moment reading off some stuff from chat. It allows them to interact with their viewers. So I do like the addition of these NPCs, not that it's going to cause any threat to our players, but just so it just spices things up, gets them firing their guns early, gets them farming for loot, and yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of a slow build-up, but soon enough we'll get to that hectic Burj Khalifa tower in the final circle.
Yeah, and even still going to be opting for a little bit of building, maybe spotted somebody else out as they're going to opt to use some utility. Can't even quite remember exactly. Oh, it's the vault here. You're going to try and get into the vault and get as much loot as possible. Sure enough, we're seeing all the good stuff here. try and see. Okay, a little bit of healing. A couple more chests in the pocket. We'll take the shield, absolutely. And when in doubt, just take all the mats, get all the iron and brick you can, because you know once it gets down to those final fights, if you're kind of stuck relying on wood, you are probably going to be in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, just farming materials early, name of the game, nothing new there. Seems like, I believe Teo trying to opt to just put some attachments on his weapons. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much all that is.
Even Fortnite has attachments now, eh?
Yeah, I know. I was just kind of calling it as I saw it, but it's very interesting. The Fortnite I remember obviously did not have anything relatively close to that. The changes that this game has had are just so dramatic, but to be fair to them, it's still very popular. And I mean, honestly, with just the reach of brand that Fortnite has, it's just a really great title that a lot of people just seem to enjoy.
Absolutely. I remember back in the days where I would just drop in and rat inside of a porta bush because I was that terrible player, but that's no longer the case. We got so many more intricate features, whether it be the attachment system, leveling up your guns, or just the pure amount of mobility now in this game. They're like sliding, that didn't exist back in the day, but it's, of course, here now, and it does make this a much faster-paced game than what it used to be. Even when they're still taking their time farming up mats, it's still nice to see that they can just charge across the map with pretty decent ease, and you don't have to leave your site early because a storm is coming half the time, because blink of an eye, you can get back into the safe zone.
Right, and I just want to point out, I was reading chat there. It seemed like their Rewind was asking R6 question mark. So just to answer your question right there, Rewind, the Saints did just finish up their series. They did lose 2-0 to Butler University in what was a very strong showing from Butler. And I think some very competitive games with them in the future, maybe in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely be looking forward to those matchups. But for right now, we have Fortnite and TFT. And just a reminder to everybody, if you do want to go on those separate streams without commentary, !streams in the chat. We'll pull those up for you.
Absolutely. TFT will be starting up very, very shortly. Some of you are getting ready for the next match slowly but surely, as we do see a little bit of a confrontation here for Tayo. Does manage to take essentially the entire shields off that player with that snipe, but with a player right behind him. Granted, I think Unknown is basically right behind Tayo at this point, but we know our Saints do not want to have to blow their mats right now if they do not have to. So just going to opt to use the terrain to their advantage. That's not a pure stealth gameplay, but just a budget stealth gameplay to say the least. But actually, this is going to be very, very scary now for our squad as they do start to get pushed.
Well, and a smart choice as well to just rotate out and what did I just see there? Did we just try to hijack a car? Like, what? Like, that was insane. Tayo just opting to hop into the passenger side. Hey, what's up, man? On your left. And then just hop right out. So it was a little bit interesting, but a smart move from Tayo to use that impulse grenade to build some distance and rotate. The player's looking to follow, but a 50 cal to the body is going to be the response that Tayo puts out. Now, just looking around, seeing the movement, seeing the footsteps, obviously a new mechanic in Fortnite, if you haven't watched in a long time, is that you can see those sounds now around your screen. Taking out some mats now, and a build fight going, stuck in the cube, and Tayo is going to be able to find the knock and the finish. And so a very good start so far in this team fight from St. Clair.
There we go. They get a couple elimination, or get that elimination on the board now, so guaranteed points in that regard. And yeah, wisely enough, not going to try and re-engage the Saints this time by. Just going to end up being now the Saints just picking up the scraps from that player. Good on them. They got jumped, but they were able to persevere this time by. Get all re-healed up and shielded up with whatever in the world that champagne bottle of shields is, you want to call. Somebody told me before, but I can't remember for the life of me. But it definitely looks funny, but it is just AoE shields.
Right, and now look, Mr. Banner, it seems like our TFT is underway now. So hopefully Tommy going to get a better placement than last game. Not usual that we see Tommy exiting out so early, but it is a very competitive field on this TFT matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see Tommy probably looking to bounce back from what was the last round early exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, based off of the rounds that we had seen from Tommy last week, I've never ever seen him opt intentionally for a carry Caitlyn before. So I'm curious if it just ended up being one of those scenarios where too many people were trying to build the same thing that he wanted, and he just wasn't finding the champions that he wanted, and opted for something different, and it just didn't quite necessarily work out. But now, early stages, of course, plenty of champions on the field here. And, of course, still going up against the NPCs. And we actually already have a 2-star Olaf, which, if left alone and gets built up, or like, it's extremely weak early. But if you get this thing to a 3-star, you give it some items, Olaf, as the fights end up happening and the health gets lower, he does more damage, gets lifesteal, and attack speed. So he becomes an absolutely unstoppable beast if you can get him with items and 3-star. It's heavy investment. It's scary because a lot of people like to at least attempt to go for it early, so there's not going to be as many of them in the shop because it's just everybody knows how scary it can be, so if they aren't taking it for themselves to use, they'll often take it just so nobody else gets it. But we'll have to see. It could just be a temporary thing, or it could very well be a late game thing as we see yet another snipe coming on through. Teo's found like 3 or 4 of these long range snipes so far in this day alone, so just absolute sharpshooter here.
Right, I mean, put this kid in phase already, because this is just absolutely incredible. I feel like I'm just watching Ilcams on the weekend right now.
Intervention montages.
Yeah, exactly. But as the game does go on, I believe I'm reading that right, as he hits another one, and that's even going to be the pick as well. Free 2 points per elimination there. A free 2 points for the Saints there. Nice find by Teo. And he's just going to remain on fire in the emote. He knows exactly what he's just done there.
Oh my goodness.
There's no way this guy brings a drum set out on you. Like, come on, man. And it might actually be even looking for more. He just kind of sees the player there, but probably opting to rotate closer or farther back even. I was going to say he might want to go back to his duo, but even just gaining ground away from these players as he does have the sniper in hand, just playing that range. They can also play the storm here. They know that those players do have to move in their direction into Teo's sight lines. And I believe he's looking at some right now. Yes, he is. Going to be interesting to see how the Saints opt to go with this. Do they want to go for some aggressive pressure early? They do have mats, but do they want to play it safe? If I were the Saints, I'd probably want to play it safe right now. I know I'm no pro, but because of the placements of last week, you need to build points and you need to just try to stay in a safe area. So I'd probably say the Saints are just going to want to kind of sit back and snipe from the back lines. I mean, Teo's on absolute fire right now, and if he's going to be hitting shots like this, I mean, man, I might just get into the game myself, because this would be very entertaining to cast if he's going to be doing this all night.
Absolutely, and we're seeing something just flying around. One of the players flying around there, and there is unknown. Okay, so they both actually have sniper rifles and are pretty much right on the line of the storm. They're going to have to move over a little bit, and this is going to be extremely awkward, being kind of stuck out in the middle of the lake like this. Sure, you can build on top of the lake, but you can still just be an absolute sitting duck. Of course, you can still swim across it, absolutely. And I guess the animation, the dolphin swimming animation, does make it a little bit nicer, so you're not a complete sitting duck. But anybody who's played this game long enough knows exactly when you're going to bounce out. And with how accurate some of these sniper shots are that we've seen so far today, I'd still be extremely nervous.
Well, I was even going to say, usually, you know, it would be a tough spot because the OGs know back in, like, Season 1 through 4, no swimming mechanic, obviously, so you were just kind of stuck walking very slowly and gingerly through any sort of water. You know, all my homies know about Loot Lake. You always find yourself going past that sometimes if you're just a horrible player like me and my friends all were back in the day, opting to always go through the water for some reason. Couldn't tell you why either. We were just kind of having fun. And is there going to be yet another snipe for Teo? It is. I mean, he's just been throwing out 105s like crazy. if you're going to be hitting shots like this, I don't see why to not just sit back, keep taking the shots. They are going to engage, probably because the players need to heal right now, and they are going to burn that time in doing so, knowing that they can't get away. The quick edit and the rebuild is going to be Teo trying to get some high ground, finding shots on the first, and he's going to be able to behind the injure. Notices the player from below. It is going to be the injure from previous. Just trying to find those 2 points. And now if you are Teo and Unknown, you realize that the third party could be incoming here, but they're going to opt to just stay on the aggression, trying to get the high ground, of course, as they do have those marksmen on their pocket.
Yeah, of course, placement is huge in these matchups, but if you can just out-frag and find all of these, it doesn't matter if you fall down early. If you manage to get like 6, 7 kills in a game, basically makes up for an early outing. But as of right now, Saints have been able to find themselves a good handful of eliminations, at least 3 in their pocket. Yeah, 3 there in the or for Teo specifically. And I'm not sure about, or I can see Unknown in the corner. They're both full health. They're sitting good. I think they've, I think Teo still has that that champagne bottle of shielding, so they have basically everything that they could really want right now. Just a matter of getting into that late game position and just keep finding those long range snipes. Teo just absolutely killing it.
Right, and I mean, as the lobby numbers do dwindle down, I believe if I'm reading it right, is that going to be 33, I believe, players left standing, and I think Teo has 3 kills as of right now. It's not bad kill numbers, but as we do see the glider deploy noises on the screen, they know that they have people close. I really thought that was going to be a hit, but it just didn't come through, especially with the way Teo's been sniping, and he's actually going to get cracked for his troubles. Going to have to just play it safe, but as the player does engage, it's going to be a little bit of an awkward position here because you have to engage in this gunfight one way or another. Probably just going to leave it up to his full shielded teammate and Unknown to do so. But right now, Teo is not looking good for shield. So as he does slowly regain some, he just needs to kind of watch it and play careful.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a two-pronged attack. We did see the one team in front of the Saints, but there's also the one on the hillside just up ahead there. So a very, very awkward spot where, sure, as you're chasing the one set of players down, you can very well get sniped from the side, and the Saints are going to have to move out of here. They are right on the fringe of where this safe zone will be for the next time by, and seem to have been able to get out of dodge, at least as of this moment. Some shots are being fired, but so far Saints not pressured, and this is going to give enough time for Teo to get some shields back up.
Right, I mean, to rotate out to me was the smart option. It just didn't seem like even if you stayed there with the storm as well, thinking about the positioning, it would not have ended well for you. You would have had to probably take 2 gunfights or 2 team fights in the span of mere seconds. You never want to be that team taking those, and the build just goes up. I think the wall would have just saved what probably was a headshot there. Teo with an absolute demon-like performance on the sniper early. You gotta hope that he keeps it back up. Really entertaining so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not necessarily big engages that are happening, but these long-range engages into the cleanups, and these grappling hooks are definitely something a little bit new, at least to me. Being able to just zip up to the top of a building like that, my goodness. Just being able to zip all over the place in this version of Fortnite now, why don't we? As we see the storm closing up on the Saints and a shot being fired.
They're right on them.
Yep.
This is a straight build fight.
Yeah,
so
this is going to get nasty.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Saints play this out. I believe the Unknown now low on shields as well, so it's going to not be the most ideal case for the Saints. And yeah, exactly. They're going to opt to just get out of dodge, trying to just reposition, hopefully not finding any more damage done onto them. Teo trying to just scamper in between a couple of rocks. As the tree does go down behind him, he realizes there is pressure still from this enemy